Welcome to another much anticipated hot button issue broadcast right here on Choice Television with me, Timothy Poleon. We conclude at about 15 minutes after 10 o'clock. Of course, I'll be taking your calls during the course of the broadcast, so please stay with us for that. I have a special guest on this evening's program as always, and also let me inform viewers the program note will also be having a special hot button issue broadcast tomorrow evening that's following our Choice News Now newscast. So we'll have that tomorrow, a hot button issue special on Choice Television on Thursday evening, right here on Choice TV. The news certainly they're moving at a frenetic pace. We have been discussing over the last few months in St. Lucia the issue involving the price of gas at the pump, at the petrol stations. There was a reprieve that was given to consumers on the island earlier this week on Monday. Even that sparked a lot of debate. We got a marked reduction in the price of propane gas as well. And from yesterday, we've been discussing issues involving the boundaries and the work of the Constituency Boundaries Commission, recommending that we move from 17 to 21 electoral seats. And just hours ago, the petition which was filed against Ms. Mary Isaac of the St. Lucia Civil Service Association, that went through. There was a vote, and the information we have is some 153 people were eligible to cast their ballot. What was needed to remove the CSA president was a 2/3 majority, resulting in 124 persons voting against her, 7 abstentions, and 5 persons voted in support of Ms. Mary Isaac. We have a report from Miguel Fevrier. That report was filed earlier on during the Choice News Now broadcast.
Members of the CSA stand divided following a unanimous vote for the removal of Ms. Mary Isaac from the presidency of the CSA. She will now be replaced by Mr. Wilfred Pierre as the interim president. In a secret ballot process, 124 individuals voted for, 5 against, and 7 abstained from voting. The results have been welcomed by many, but have also served in dividing some members. Arguments ensued before, during, and following the proceedings, with both sides referencing the Constitution in order to support their arguments.
Right there in front of Mary. I wasn't there when she did that. Let me speak and then I'll allow you to speak. Mary told me to vote for her because she's going to rid the union of politics. One lady decided to go, she going on the news to quarrel, to make noise, because Mary was showing me who to vote for. You understand? So if you ask me to vote for you, you ask me to vote for you because you're going to rid the union of politicians, and now you're joining a political party. Why you didn't come of politics? So listen to me. But listen to me. Look the overriding. Look the overriding. Look it here. The overriding objective of the Constitution states. One of the objectives, to represent and unite all public officers, members of staff. By taking one particular side, you're not uniting.
That's an employee of the Ministry of Finance was there, brother.
She's a non-member.
Yes, but she's an employee of the Ministry of Finance. That's one person, and she went outside. You mustn't do that. Yes, but she went outside.
Trade union that is made up, and this is a trade union. This is a trade union representing majority of workers for the state.
If tomorrow, let me ask you, if tomorrow Mary was to become a Muslim, then she would have to resign.
No, listen to that. You are talking about a political party.
Affiliation.
Ousted President Mary Isaac is expected to be officially informed of the outcome Thursday via letter and will be asked to vacate the post. General Secretary David Dimac, who has 3 days left on the job, described the past few years as the worst period he has ever experienced as a trade unionist.
And suffered personally on some things. Yeah, so it's the worst period. I thought in 1982, when the union was poised to take strike against the Labour Party during the struggle, the political struggle, that was a terrible time too. And the union was poised at that time to break up in 3 different factions. It was a UWP faction, a PLP faction, and a Labour faction. And because of the role, I don't want to be boastful, because of the role I played during that time, the union didn't break. into two. But that was a real situation.
75 signatures were required to obtain a quorum, but the individual responsible for collecting the signatures was accused of having non-members sign the book. Elisha Clark Malikan explains that this was not the case.
As I said earlier, the requirement of the Constitution, no less than 75 members, that was done. The 75 members were met. At the time, the non-members signed. As anything, there will be persons who will try to slide in, but the 75 members that is required by the Constitution, we actually had 102 members that were verified. 102 members that were verified. Based on a list we had, a financial list from the Secretariat, these names were verified. And this meeting wasn't. So these other names, these were persons, somebody who may have came in after mischievously put his name on the book. And the gentleman at the time is not privy to every CSA member by face. I don't think even the president or any of the executive members are privy to every CSA member. Not me as a long-serving CSA member. I am not privy to know or knowledgeable of every CSA member by face.
And what does the outgoing General Secretary and former President of 11 years think of the state of his beloved union now?
The union is already destroyed.
We understand there was some other correspondence.
The union is already destroyed.
What do you mean it's destroyed, Mr.
At whose hands? At whose hands, Mr. Demark? At whose hands do you believe?
You are looking for Roro for me to...
I'm not saying anything against
But sir, you have some
what do you mean the union is destroyed though?
That's a strong statement.
Hello. Hello. Open.
Miguel Favre, Choice News Now.
Thank you very much, Miguel, for this report, which was filed early on during the Choice News Now broadcast. Clearly, a civil service association which is in turmoil. My guest was last here in 2013, tax consultant, Mr. Jeff Stewart. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Always a pleasure to be here.
What do you make of what's happening with the Civil Service Association?
Not a situation that I have followed too closely, but there's no doubt in my mind that Mary Isaac could not wear both caps. She would obviously find herself in a situation where the whole question of conflict of interest would arise. Tim, if we were to think that the government was to change and that the United Workers' Party was to get into power, how would Miss Mary Isaac deal with a union situation with her government? Really and truly, the regret I have in this whole situation is that she did not resign from either position, one of the two positions, keep the one she wanted, rather than being booted out by her union. She would have looked a lot better if she had resigned from one of the two posts.
You think that irreparable damage has been done to the CSA?
Oh, not necessarily, not at all. You know, the CSA could easily recover if it gets very strong leadership. A lot of these institutions, what they require is good, strong leadership. So as soon as that is possible, the union will recover from this. This is not too serious or too severe a blow as far as I am concerned.
You move on to the gas issue. What you
Situation that I have followed too closely, but there's no doubt in my mind that Mary Isaac could not wear both caps. She would obviously find herself in a situation where the whole question of conflict of interest would arise. Tim, if we were to think that the government was to change and that the United Workers' Party was to get into power, how would Miss Mary Isaac deal with a union situation with her government? Really and truly, the regret I have in this whole situation is that she did not resign from either position, one of the two positions, keep the one she wanted, rather than being booted out by her union. She would have looked a lot better if she had resigned from one of the two posts.
You think that irreparable damage has been done to the CSA?
Oh, not necessarily, not at all. You know, the CSA could easily recover if it gets very strong leadership. A lot of these institutions, what they require is good, strong leadership. So as soon as that is possible, the union will recover from this. This is not too serious or too severe a blow as far as I am concerned.
We move on to the gas issue. What do you make of the recent developments in St. Lucia?
Well, I'm glad to see the prices of the pump come down as low as they have, and so, Tim, I'm very happy with that. Again, Tim, you know that I don't delve into things unless I don't want to comment on things unless I really am very sure of it. I'll tell you this, though, Tim. From the very outset, when the first reduction was granted and people complained and so on, I thought that, or how I understood the gas issue, was that there is a formula that has been used for years, that when oil prices on the world market are extremely high, the government helps to subsidize the price at the pump for us users. And when the price goes down, I thought the Labour Party was trying to replace some of the subsidy that they had originally put into the whole affair. And if they had come out from the outset and told us, listen, we're not giving everything to you, we are keeping back a little to replace the money we had used in subsidizing it in the past, because you never know, life, we may have to come and subsidize it again sometime in the future. If that had been explained to the public, I think that it would not have been an issue. However, I don't want to take away the UWP's thunder, because they picked that up as an issue and went to town with it. And I don't know, they may be the ones who forced the government to consider a further drop in the price of gasoline.
As it stands now, don't you think that too many of the issues in St. Lucia are being politicized? I know that some people will say that is not the case, but let us look at the gas issue. Even when the St. Lucia Labour Party was in opposition, I think it politicized the whole issue and took the United Workers' Party administration to task. Now that it's in office, do you think that's getting a dose of its own medicine?
Yes, we could look at it that way. We could look at it that way, Tim, but everything is politicized. Everything in St. Lucia. As a matter of fact, politics has permeated the entire society in a way that is working to the country's detriment. You know, politics, people have thrown such die-hard and sometimes silly support behind the two parties. I don't care which one you support. But the support is sometimes senseless, you know, and you look at it and people my age, Tim, go back to a time where the party you were in didn't really make much of a difference, you know. Sir John Compton had as his cabinet secretary a gentleman by the name of Graham Louisy, who was brother to Sir Alan Louisy, leader of the Labour Party, you know. It didn't matter. In those days, people were people of stature and integrity and so on. Graham Louisy, Alan Louisy's brother, sat in cabinet hearing everything Sir John Compton and his UWP government were planning and discussing, you know. And Sir John went even further. Mikey Pilgrim's mother, Dorothy Pilgrim, Tim, I don't know if you can recall her. Chua Labour, as people would say, Labour Party did not have an event that Dorothy Pilgrim and her husband were not in the front, almost sitting on the stage, all in red and so on. So, let me tell you, he wasn't so in those days. But that lady was John Compton's secretary for years, you know. That was when people had integrity.
And class.
And class, Tim. People don't like the word class, but what I am saying it and meaning it to mean is and class. You know, you need people of substance and integrity. Where now you going to look to tell me you giving anybody from the other side an important position in your administration? Right now we seem to be moving in the direction of when the government change, so do all the workers, even within the civil service. You change in permanent secretary, people getting kicked here, people getting kicked there to make room for your boys. That is absolutely wrong, and that is something that has to change. We're not accustomed to that.
The work of the Boundaries Commission, from 17 to 21 seats. That is what is being proposed.
Again, Tim, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you want to increase the constituencies from 17 to 21. You know what's going to follow that? We go have 21 ministries. The way the country is going, Every man who runs a seat for an election is going to demand he get a ministry. And if you do not have strong leadership, at whatever point in future we don't have strong leadership, you'll find you coming out with 21 ministers to handle what? The affairs of this country. The 17 we have doing it now are not doing it very well. I don't see any reason to go and try to increase it to 21. Don't tell me about number of people in constituency. We may have to improve the voting process, maybe find a different way to compute it and so on, but certainly not more constituencies. Because for me, more constituencies means more ministries, eventually.
I think you should have a drink of water. Because the point is, Mr. Jeff Stewart is on the broadcast this evening. I invited him and he said that there's a particular issue that he really wants to speak about. And that is the value-added tax, which was implemented in October of 2012. Why are you so anxious to speak about VAT, sir?
Because I think that the value-added tax has had a very, very drastic effect on the economy and on the lives of St. Lucians. You know I've never supported value-added tax, Tim, and I have spoken against it several times, but I don't really want to speak against it tonight theoretically as I've had to do in the past. What I want to do is to discuss the effects of the tax. We've had it for 2.25 years, going to 2.5 years. And what I want to do tonight is to discuss the impact it is having on the country and see if then we can probably find some solution or something that is better than what is presently happening.
What impact is it having?
I'll tell you this, Tim. I have no doubt in my mind that before I even start with that, may I remind your viewers, Tim, that when it was being introduced, we were told that it was going to replace a number of taxes. Import duty, service charge, environmental levy, nuisance taxes. Remember that? We were assured that was going to happen. I hope your viewers remember that at the time I also came and said, boy, we can't just depend on no government to remove no tax. When the time comes for them thing to go is we that going to have to agitate to get it off, because no government is going to voluntarily remove taxes. Well, Tim, all of these taxes are on top of us. St. Lucians, and I've been saying so for years, we are overtaxed. There's nothing we can do. You buy a piece of land, you have to give government tax. You sell a piece of land, government taking tax. You go in the bank and buy some foreign currency, government getting. Government is taking tax from us every which way we turn. And I believe, personally, that the situation has now reached where we're terribly overtaxed and we're hurting the development of our country if we don't relieve some of the taxes quickly. Let's take the value-added tax. Under the old system, Tim, poor people never paid income tax. The way the income tax worked is it said you didn't pay income tax unless you were earning more than $18,400 a year. That equates to $1,500 a month. Poor man ain't making $1,500 a month, so poor man never paid tax. You understand? But with the VAT, what has happened is that 15% has fallen squarely on the shoulder of poor man. Every poor person is now losing 15% of their income in the form of VAT going back to the government.
But can't he avoid that when he goes to the supermarket?
No, because what has happened, Tim, is that the government has tried to give a lot of exemptions. They've given exemptions on food items and they've given exemptions on medicinal items and so on. But these exemptions are nothing compared to what people are spending or have to spend on. And as a result, the poor man's income, he has lost 15% of it. Somebody has to come to speak for these people. We cannot keep squeezing them and treating them in that manner without any. All of the people in politics and so, when is somebody going to stand up and start to defend these people? You've taken 15% of the people's income in a tax where they never paid tax before. One effect of that. One effect of that. You know what the other effect of that is? All the people in the middle and upper class now experiencing when they go to the supermarket, the price, they're spending a lot more money for less goods. the VAT has come like a 15% increase in our inflation rate. People are spending a lot more because the goods are now nearly 15% higher than we have been accustomed to. Terrible. But the only thing is the consumers and so that are getting hurt. Tim, VAT is not a good tax. It's a terrible tax. If we think of St. Lucia, you know, nice island, and we cut it into two sectors. One being the public sector, which we'll call government, and the other one being private sector, all of us out here in private enterprise trying to earn our living. If we think of St. Lucia being in those two sectors, and let's say the money supply in the private sector is $100 million. It's a lot more than that, Tim, but for ease of calculation, let's use $100 million. When government goes and imposes a VAT on us, where it's taking 15% of almost every transaction in the private sector, you're telling me that in year one, government is taking $15 million from us to bring over to the public sector, their side. There's year two. When they come in year two and take 15% again VAT from us, call that, we had 100, we went down 15, that's 85, another 15 fall on us, let's call that 12 million. So out of our 85, we're now left with 73. There's year 3 and year 4 and so to come. And if that continues to happen, what's going to happen is that private enterprise is going to shrink to the point where businesses are going to start to close, as we are already experiencing. People are going to be laid off, and all of these sorts of things, there are signs of them already happening. We've got to stop government from taking that money and bringing it in because they are destroying the country. Then I'll go one step further, Tim. For all of what we were told about when the VAT collection reach a certain level, they will remove the import duties and all the nuisance taxes. What's the level? What's the target? Where are the VAT collections? We do not know how near we are to the target or how far away we are from the target. Are all of these taxes going to stay on us for another 6 months, or are they likely to be there for another 6 or 10 years? We need to know the target. All right, let me put it this way, Tim. I am coming tonight to very politely ask the government to publish that kind of information. And I'm putting it mildly, Tim, because as far as I'm concerned, that information isn't supposed to be government's information. These politicians work for us. You understand? We put them there for 5 years to run our affairs for us. If we're not happy with the performance, we fire them at the end of the 5 years by voting somebody else in. We are the bosses. We pay them. So for me to ask, and please be transparent and give us that, no, we're not begging for the information. The information is supposed to be made available to the public. We need to know how much longer have we got to bear all of these taxes on us. Rather than us just being in the dark, don't know, you'll tell me one. I cannot trust you to do it fairly. Past experience has taught me not to expect it.
But we continue to hear that the government is in a serious financial straits, primarily because of the fiscal deficit, among other issues.
Yes.
If not the VAT, how do you think that the government will keep the coffers of the treasury at least at a particular level so that it can run the affairs of the state?
Two ways I would try to attack it, and these are ways that I've said in the past. One way, of course, Tim, is I always felt before we introduced something like VAT that is so devastating on the country, and which we expected those effects, at least some of us expected it. Before doing that, why not improve the efficiency in the assessment and collection of your two main revenue collecting departments? I have always felt if Inland Revenue and Customs were tightened up and made more efficient, the amount of money government would get would probably not have put us in a position where we need a VAT. There's that. I also want to say, so I don't want to sound repetitive, but you see in taxation, Tim, there's a thing called voluntary compliance. If all of these tax rates were dropped and got rid of the little nuisance ones, and so if you get rid of all of that, people would prefer to sleep well at night if the taxes were low and fair, to come and pay their tax, you know. Voluntary compliance from the public will bring the most money to government, you know. Right now, government decide they want to come and dig $100 out of Jack Brown's pocket. Jack Brown is evading and things. The cost to government to go and get that $100 might be $80 or $85, you know, Tim. They have to employ the people, they got to pay the experts, they got to, by the time they get the $100 out of Jack Brown, they have spent $85 trying to get it, you know. So really it's just a net 15 to government. If they had had the taxes where the man had to pay $40 or $50, more than likely he would have paid that without you having to spend 85.
But on the VAT issue, it appears that the government did not have any choice. Because there's a special committee that was set up by the OECS, I think, headed by Professor
These
McIntyre.
people advised the government. Well, where the government was between a rock and a hard place was becoming members of the WTO, the World Trade Organization. As members of the WTO, you can't have tariffs and barriers to trade at your ports. And again, I hate saying I say so. When we were joining WTO, I was on a show with Rick and I asked if somebody would call and tell me what are the benefits of us joining that. We like to go and join everything that big in the world so we can go to the seminars and the conferences and we paying big money and why did we ever?
But sometimes do we have a choice in the matter? We don't have a choice.
Man, let me tell you, Russia joined the WTO must be late last year, you know, December last year, you know, Russia, you know. Little we run up front and jump up forward.
What, because we cowards?
I don't want to say we cowards. I don't think we think out the results and the consequences of these things properly.
So you're just saying that we shouldn't have a VAT at all?
Or
lower the VAT?
Well, boy, lowering it would help. But Tim, I'm just saying too many taxes, and the one I would love to see go is the VAT. I've explained to you what VAT does to poor people. It makes us poorer. Africa is blaming the World Bank and the IMF for making them poorer by introducing this VAT. And the way it works is how I explained it. The VAT is falling squarely on people's shoulders who never paid tax in the past. We were able, with the income tax system, to relieve these people from paying tax. Now we come and drop 15% straight on them. That's not fair. Somebody has to defend these people. They cannot afford it. Tim, you know I lie right down at ground level. You know I'm in the ghettos, I'm on the street level and things. Tim, St. Lucians are suffering, you know. And nobody seems to be concerned with the little people down there because we quarreling about price in supermarket going up, but we eat in. You understand? The people down there need help. And I'm hoping, in all seriousness, that the United Workers' Party picks up this as an issue. The government promised us it would remove those taxes when it reached the target. Well, we want to know the target and everything else, but I want to hand over to the United Workers' Party. I don't have the energy for this anymore. Find out, when are you moving these taxes? You made the promise, you let UWP stick behind them. I don't want to complain about UWP, I don't want to complain about nobody, I don't want to insult nobody, I don't want to complain about nobody. But I'm not impressed with the UWP's performance. I do not believe that and I'm not speaking only UWP, even Labour. You all can't keep coming to us every 5 years and asking us to vote you into power. You're all too concerned about getting into government. Here is an excellent opportunity for the United Workers' Party to come and represent the poor people of this country. Here is an opportunity for an institution like the Chamber of Commerce to get involved because its members are closing business and so. Why don't these people deal with these issues? It's not, I don't have the influence. Why are you leaving these things for me to have to come and keep reminding you about? You go do that. UWP could well get into power if they go and represent the people properly and now get those taxes off. People can say, well, you're capable. You understand, Tim? You say, but that's a capable group of fellas because they're chiefs. UWP has just spent too much time going behind Richard Frederick, as far as I'm concerned. And Tim, I don't know, but from where I stand, they're gone too much behind Richard. Give poor Richard a break now. When you all were in government, Richard was one of your best, if not the best performing minister. Now that you all, instead of you all putting a plan together to go behind Labour and really force performance out of them, Richard is not a national issue. Richard is a party problem. Deal with it at a party level. Stop UWP, stop trying to make it a national issue and involve in it. We don't want to get involved in that. Yes, I said, y'all gonna deal with that. Look how many years that's going on.
But once for argument's sake, once the United Workers' Party is successful in bringing that issue across to the electorate and applying the pressure on a St. Lucia Labour Party administration as far as VAT is concerned, when it gets in, how does it deal with the problem?
Well,
where is the money coming from to run the affairs of the country?
I'm telling you, drop the taxes, you will collect a lot more money. In 1981, the St. Lucia Labour Party gave the most significant income tax relief I am aware of as being given probably anywhere in the Caribbean. We put women on all fours, we dropped the rates of tax drastically, we did things for old people, we did things for we did a lot of things. Most massive tax relief ever. And the reason that came about was because we had just been hit by Hurricane Allen, and they needed to re-stimulate the economy and so on. That worked. In 1989, Sir John Compton was about increasing taxes because by then the economy had got sluggish again and so on. And he was thinking of increasing taxes and so, but we were able to persuade him, no, that's not the way to go. Drop the tax. Let me tell you something. Sir John dropped those taxes in 1984. They probably helped him stay there and kept the country going till he retired from politics. You know, there's a gentleman who knows about this very, very well. And I hate having to call his name, but I hope he doesn't mind. So Mr. Victor Girard. Sorry, I'm saying so because, believe me, I really believe that that's a gentleman who we should have knighted already. But Mr. Victor Girard was cabinet secretary in the days when Sir John was discussing those sorts of issues and they were being explained to him and the chances we were taking and what is likely to happen and so. And Mr. Victor Girard, in his discussions with me about those times, I can see it was an exciting time for him as cabinet secretary because it was a change of... Tim drop the taxes, we've done it twice and each time it has worked. It's better to have taxes at a level where people voluntarily come into you to pay than for you to have to go with gun and shovel and fork and backhoe and an excavator trying to dig the money out of their pocket. The cost to you is tremendous. When you do get that $100 I was referring to, when you check it, you spend 85 trying to get it. Look at the VAT, look at the administrative side of that VAT. That's costing the country a lot of money. You set up a completely new department. Is it worth it? How much is that department costing? How much of the VAT collections? How much of it is going back to just the administration? Same like the civil service. I have complained bitterly about civil service. We need to drop the cost of the civil service. There's no getting away from it. St. Lucia cannot maintain a civil service that's costing that amount of money. I've said so before, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, you know, Tim, government really gets about, I have a minute or two, or you have a year. Government really gets about $800 and something million a year in recurrent revenue. That's revenue it collects from mainly inland revenue and customs in the form of taxes. Don't care when they tell us the budget is 1.2 billion and there is 800 million they're collecting in recurrent revenue and they're borrowing the other 400 million, which means we have to pay back with interest. So it's really the 800 million that we depending on to run the country. You can't be spending 400 and something of that paying civil servants taxes.
Salaries.
Salaries, sorry. You cannot. You cannot be paying what you're paying in the cost of traveling, the rent. When you check it, government is taking about nearly, I don't think it's quite there yet, but say 600 million out of the 800. What you leaving for us? You leaving 200 million for us. Out of that 200 million, about 130 has to be used to pay the money we had borrowed in the past. Where is the country cannot continue to be run like that?
Well, that point. The broadcast will continue in just a moment with your calls. You're watching Hot Button Issue on Choice Television. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Hot Button Issue right here on Choice Television with me, Timothy Poleon. And my guest is tax consultant, Mr. Jeff Stewart. We'll put the telephone number on screen right now so that you can call with the questions and the comments for my guest. Do not forget that we have a special Hot Button Issue broadcast tomorrow evening, and that is the following the Choice News Now segment. So we have a special Hot Button Issue tomorrow evening right here on Choice Television. Right now, I have as my guest Mr. Jeffrey Stewart of Stewart and Associate. We have calls coming in already. Good evening, Hot Button Issue, you on the air?
Yeah, good night.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
Good night.
Yeah, good night. I was just calling, I heard you saying earlier on, what was one of the reasons in health in the country developed. When you watch that man we had help in the country, what's his name? The man which the party criticized so much.
The man the Labour Party criticized so much?
Yeah.
And what he does in the country?
He was helping the country. What's his name? That ambassador we had.
Taiwanese ambassador, Mr. Tom Chu.
Tom Chu.
Yeah, Mr. Chu, right.
Tom Chu.
Yeah, when you really watch the way Mr. Chu was helping the country, that was one of our main helps in the country, and the government really criticized and made him feel real bad, and that's why you see right now we have to be suffering like that, because Mr. Tom Chu was a great help to the country, and we all know that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. We await another call on the program. Once again, this is Hot Button Issue right here on the Choice Television. Good evening.
Yes, good night.
Hi, good night to you, caller.
Yeah, I've been listening to your comments, Mrs. Stewart, but you have not touched the agricultural sector at all. Right, especially where our import bill is high, you know.
Sir, if I may just remind you, I have repeatedly said, Tim, I do not believe that we as a country will ever be successful unless we have a strong agricultural base, The country, we can go into electronics, you can go into tourism, now mind you, I don't want to speak in a derogatory manner about tourism or anything else, but agriculture has got to be strengthened and we become productive and try to feed ourselves.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue, you on the air?
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Yes, good evening to you and Mr. Stewart.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, Mr. Stewart, it is well known that for the past, I would say, 10 years, government debt internationally has grown to the utmost height. If we look at countries where we get the best results from austeric measures, such as when St. Kitts had to do there's Barbados, there's free, getting rid of 3,000 civil servants. Is this the way St. Lucia should go? I'll listen to you over the air.
Thank you, sir.
He has asked me a very difficult question, Tim. I will be prepared to admit that seems to be the direction in which we are going. But what I am advocating for is let's try to help ourselves. This old belief about sit down, tighten belt and wait for the lash, that's not going to work. I believe if we get up and make a conscientious effort to cut the cost of the civil service, make a conscientious effort to collect the income taxes and the customs duties a hell of a lot more efficiently, I believe that money will be raised in a manner that may allow us to get rid of the other taxes and not have to take the measures like Barbados has taken.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue, you on the air?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, I heard Mr. Stewart mention about the...
You have to speak up, sir.
I heard Mr. Stewart mention about the agriculture sector. And it's true what he's saying, but, we must realize one very important thing, that tourism in these islands are inextricably linked to the gross domestic product. In fact, it contributes quite significantly to the GDP of all those islands. Now, if you look at the statistics over the years, you'll see that, the graph would show that, tourism contribution to those economies are significant.
Maybe the biggest contributor, the hotel industry, yes.
Yes. But we need to create those linkages between agriculture and tourism, and that's what we're not doing very well. It's affecting our balance of payments very, very badly, and we're suffering as a result, having to borrow to pay all our debts and so on. So, we really need...
If you really look at it,
Right, sir, thank you.
Tourism should be the market for our agricultural sector. That is the ideal situation. We grow what they want, all the fruit, all that nice tropical fruit, then we can produce it here. That's the ideal situation. He's definitely correct.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue. We continue to take your calls. Once again, my guest this evening is Mr. Jeff Stewart. We're focusing on a range of issues, in particular VAT. We have a caller 9. Good evening, Hot Button Issue.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
Evening.
I have to make a point there, and I have to agree with Jeff as it relates to the taxes. I'm finding out along the way that there's a new tax implemented on tires. And here we go saying, okay, the VAT is going to take care of everything. Here we go saying that the VAT is supposed to replace taxes. And I'm not aware of any mainstream way where they have
reduced anything.
They have reduced anything, or not even announced that they were planning on implementing such a tax.
Sir, if I may point out, what we have experienced is the introduction of a whole new set of excise taxes.
Exactly, and
I think that's what
leaves
happened to you with your tires.
Yeah, that leaves one to wonder what exactly was the purpose of implementing VAT. What exactly was the focus? So now everybody who's probably, because tires not cheap, everybody who's probably budgeting to do these things, all of a sudden have to find out that they have to revisit their budget, try and find money some way, shape or form to finance those things. And then what you alluded to, or you made very clear, is the next thing people are going to try to do is, how do I escape that?
Escape it. Everybody is going to start to...
Thank you so much, sir.
Everybody's good. The gentleman is very correct, Tim. You see, everybody's going to start to try and evade the taxes. And government is going to spend a whole ton of money going and trying to find it.
Good evening. Hot Button Issue, you on the air?
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
And good evening to you again.
Hi, good evening. You'll have to speak up, sir.
Good evening, yes.
Yeah, good evening, yes.
Right.
Yeah, Jeff, my problem with some of the comments that you have made is that you are proposing that we should scrap the VAT, but you are not advocating what measures we can put in place to deal with our huge financial deficit. We have the Prime Minister made a statement a few months ago that we had a $325 million deficit. You admitted to that most times we borrow about 400 million of our budget. Okay? So how, I mean, I don't have a problem with you advocating anything to do.
No, I understand.
Propose how you are going to deal with these issues. Because I can tell you something. Why, I need to ask you the question, why the other islands, all of them have gone the VAT route? Right? And why should St. Lucia be different?
You tell me, and I'll tell you why we should be
different.
Yeah,
okay, and we're not the only countries, most of the countries of the world have gone the VAT route.
The VAT route, yeah.
Right? So is there some rocket science that you know that the rest of the world doesn't know?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I'm also
okay, sir. Thanks a lot, Peter Alexander of the Organization for National Empowerment.
Yeah,
go ahead, sir.
What I would like to tell Peter is, while all the countries in the world have gone the VAT route, look at the condition of the world economy today. Look at every country in the world, and I want Peter to tell me, if VAT was a successful tax, one country where it's successful would be able to reduce it. VAT has never been reduced anyway. It's increasing. Countries that started at 15% have now had to go to 29%. VAT, I am not aware of one country in the world where VAT has been reduced. If it is such a successful tax, it should be reduced somewhere. Things good, it's working, then we can drop it from 15 to 10. That has never happened. It just keeps going up, and it has destroyed all the economies, whether it be Europe, whether it be in the Caribbean, everywhere that has been implemented, the country's economies are in trouble.
Good evening. Hot Button Issue.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi.
Good evening, Jeff.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Cuthbert Didi. How are you, sir?
Oh, that's
I'm all right.
Yeah, how are things?
Jeff, very good program so far.
Okay, thanks.
Question I had, a suggestion to piggyback from what Mr. Alexander said. Would it be what if St. Lucia got rid of PAY and introduced a flat corporate tax and then concentrated on collecting the land and house tax that is outstanding, that never seems to be collected, Because I think you are right. The St. Lucians are overtaxed. Too much indirect and direct taxation. So I just wanted to get your view on that.
Okay, I'll tell you that. You see, Cuthbert, yes, no question about it. What we are collecting from property tax is a joke, and that's what I mean about get the taxes collected efficiently. We are collecting a fraction of what Grenada collects from property tax. That's a joke. And there's a lot of money out there that could be brought in if we tighten up the collection and the efficiency of it. And so I am also saying, you see, everybody's concerned about where the money is going to come from and so on. And I understand that. I had those same problems in 1981 and in 1989. I said it was 81, yeah, and 1989. I had those same problems trying to convince cabinet that, not cabinet in those days, it was mainly the prime ministers in those days, and convince them to drop the tax. I'll never forget, there was one time I told Sir John Compton, I think it was in 1989, that it would take about a year for what I'm telling him to really start to work, It's going to take a little time and so on. And Tim, I was most surprised that in a matter of 2 months, one day I get a call from Sir John Compton in my office. He said, Jeffy, please come over, come and see that. If you saw the level of the collections, nothing that even I had anticipated. You understand? And that is what is always going to happen.
You have a caller now. Good evening, this is Hot Button Issue. You on the air?
Hello, Tim. Good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Evening. This conversation needs a bit of fire.
Okay.
Listen, you all are talking about VAT. We don't have money. Those nice hotels you have all along St. Lucia and those foreign companies you have in this country, a lot of them are owing the government a lot of revenue. Why don't you all make the government go and pick it up?
No, well, all right, so you know that we don't have the power to get that done. But what that does is it emphasizes my point that if the collection was efficient, there would probably be no need for anything else, because if those hotels were made to pay when they had to pay and the thing was efficiently collected, all of that money wouldn't be out there.
Hot Button Issue, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Timothy.
Hi, good evening to you, Paula.
Good evening to Mr. Stewart.
Hi, good evening.
Mr. Stewart, I know that you're speaking about VAT. I just wanted to ask you, because you said earlier that VAT should not be implemented, we should not have VAT and so on. But what would you have in place of it, though?
All right. Well, yeah, I think I've answered that a few times. But basically, miss, I'm just saying that if the rates of taxes generally were lowered and efficiently collected, the result of that would compensate for you not having to introduce a new tax that falls so squarely on the shoulders of the poor people.
Another call to be followed by a commercial break. Good evening.
Good evening,
hi,
Tim.
Good evening to you, ma'am.
Mr. Stewart.
Hi.
I think this is a very good show.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead, please, ma'am.
Okay. I heard Mr. Stewart keep talking about the collection rate. However, I have not heard from him how he would recommend that the government collects that outstanding revenue, and what is preventing the government from doing so right now.
Thank you so much.
Very good question, because you've put me in a very difficult situation. As far as I'm concerned, if the rates were dropped and people felt that they were fairer, what you would get from that voluntary compliance will blow everybody's minds away. So one way is to drop it. Another way is, we still have situations where Inland Revenue is coming to people and telling them you owe $1 million and all that kind of thing. Nobody has no $1 million to give you. Come negotiate, get it. I think that it would be fair to mention that the Labour Party has tried several times to remove interest and so on, give incentives if you come in to pay. These things have got to be tried again. You've got to get your money, but the main thing is get the rates reduced. What you're telling people they have to pay is not fair, and people cannot afford it to begin with. There's a big difference in assessing tax and collecting tax. You can assess what you want. Collecting it is the other matter. And attention has got to be paid to the collection systems. She's asking me, I think she would like me, or is hoping that I'd be able to suggest a few new collection measures. And so what I used in my time to collect money, serious money for the government from tax, which was like a dead end. It was a certain amount every year after. We tripled that, you know, in a matter of 2 or 3 years. Not by squeezing, I tell you, we gave massive relief during that period. And if we do those things, and people are coming in voluntarily, the country will be amazed at the additional tax it gets. I'm not saying you're doing that and that alone. You're going to have to cut the cost of civil service. You've got to watch your own expenditure, because there's a lot of fat in that 600 million running the service that could be cut. And we're just not even tackling that problem.
Once again, the program note, we'll have a special hot button issue broadcast tomorrow evening right here on the Choice Television, and that is following the Choice News Now broadcast. So a special hot button issue tomorrow. Let's take a break. Back in a moment with more of your calls. Please stay with us. Stay with us for that. We have a caller 9. Good evening. You're watching Hot Button Issue.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi. Good evening to you, ma'am.
And a good evening to your guest.
Good evening.
Tim, do you realize that your guest is a former controller of inland revenue?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I know I'm speaking to a former PS.
You are. And whilst listening to him, Tim, I was reminiscing of the good old days when greater fiscal prudence was being exercised. Those were great days, Jeff. I actually worked with you.
Yep.
Now, as it relates
we
to the
enjoyed
VAT,
what we were doing, and we were happy
oh,
with the,
VAT. Oh,
with the
oh,
results.
Jeff, those were the good old
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
And remember, Jeff, we had no computers.
A computer.
But we produced the information for decision making, the data, man. We went out there and we worked day and night getting.
We worked
anyway.
like dogs. We worked like dogs. You know, I'll give you a little joke. There was a time when I was at Inland Revenue, not even adding machines. You know, we had calculators. And I went by data machines and I spent a few $1,000s buying. You know, they threatened to surcharge me. We had one machine at Inland Revenue that you set the figure and you crank. Can you imagine? So I said, no, man, that's too big. They nearly surcharged me. I went and bought calculators.
Okay.
But those were wonderful days, and they were successful days too.
Yes, they were.
We saw the rewards, we saw the fruits of our labor.
Indeed.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, Jeff, as it relates to the VAT, it has been said that VAT is not implemented as an additional tax, but a replacement tax.
Supposed to have been so.
Yes, but now, the major tax which VAT replaced was the consumption tax. But the problem is that the consumption tax ranged, I think, from 0% to 45%. And with a 15% VAT, you had items originally above 15% under the consumption tax regime. So it means then, with the implementation of VAT, all other things being constant, the prices of those items should have gone down.
Should have gone down.
Right. Then we had those items below 15%. It means that they should have borne a higher, gone up. I'm not too sure that that analysis was done. I am really not too sure. Now, in addition, VAT is a broader base tax and now covers services which did not previously bear consumption tax. Not only goods, but services.
Yes.
Right?
It's an all-embracing tax. It's
Okay.
almost on every transaction, apart from the exempted items.
Now, it is my view that given the nature of that, and we have been experiencing what has been happening, businesses closing down, the poor and indigent, the impact. It is my view that the consumption tax should have been complemented by the implementation of certain innovative safety nets to address the plight of the less privileged. That's right. And Jeff, I couldn't agree with you more. We have been there. I think the answer lies mainly with the efficient and effective administration and collection of our taxes. That is key. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so much for calling, ma'am.
Thanks a lot for calling.
Another caller line, good evening. Thanks for holding on, you're now on the air.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
I got cut off a while ago. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, but quickly, go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, a quick presentation. I just wanted to mention to Mr. Stewart that with VAT, it was a recommendation, I keep saying that, by the IMF. And also, the VAT at 15%, we also had different conditions that would brace us for the VAT impact in terms of personal allowances, moved from 18,000 to 21,000, and also I just wanted to mention in the OECS we have the most zero-rated items. Tim said a quick contribution, so I will.
Hold on,
just
please.
let me make this
Go
point.
ahead.
You see, there you go again. Let me tell you, that personal allowance about from 18 to 21, that's another promise, you know, that's not law.
It is not, but Mr. Stewart, I file tax. I filed my tax returns online last year, and I am filing again this year. So,
Mr. Personal allowance is $18,000.
My personal allowance says that it is not 18%. It is up to by 21,000.
Not 18,000. You're saying 21. That was promised to us, I think, in the House, but that law has never been passed.
Well,
the allowance is still 80. Even if you claim the 21, they're going to restrict you to 18.
Now, let me also tell you, I will listen up because Tim said a quick contribution. Let me just mention also that in the Caribbean, St. Lucia also has the most zero-rated items. And I listened to a caller a while ago, and she mentioned about the VAT is too high and certain things are going up. Yes, certain things went up naturally. Of course they would. But also other things have also come down.
Oh, we're not saying no. We're not saying no, but we're saying the overall effect is everybody has felt a serious increase in the cost of everything.
How else could we demand? How else would a government generate revenue?
Oh,
when you want roads and you want better health care and you want certain social programs and you want all of those things, how else do you expect the government to? But I will also, since you're a VAT expert or so on, I would also refer you to the IMF's report of 2008, 2009. I suggest we have a look at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. What's the user?
Yeah, you see, Tim, I'm asked once again to say how. I'm telling you how it can be done. If these things were reduced and the level of collection be improved, and so you'd be shocked you wouldn't need no VAT. What VAT is doing to the country is detrimental to the country. It's on the backs of poor people who are really screaming and bawling. It is shrinking the private sector, and eventually we're all going to be down to nothing. And if you look at it from a macro point of view or a micro point, that is very destructive and is going to destroy us before another couple of years.
Good evening, Holbert Nation, you on the air?
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yeah, I saw a discourse by the previous caller stating about that was a policy by the IMF. But if you realize in the Caribbean, of all the countries that introduced that before us, none of them have been successful. And even without that, St. Lucia was doing much better.
Yes.
So the IMF, from my point of view, what I'm seeing is that that has been a failed policy. But because it came from the IMF or the World Bank.
And the World Bank, yeah.
They're
following it like we have head for ourselves.
In order to look bad by the wolf. If as Mr. Fede said, just said, the whole world collapsed because of that fact. And it's a failed policy.
Everywhere.
All right, thanks a lot, sir.
Look at the condition of any country in the world.
You have another caller line. Good evening. This is Holbert Nation. Good evening.
Good evening. Just to address the previous caller as it relates to the personal allowance. When you're a poor person earning $18,000 and you claim your personal allowance, you get that reprieve. But even if they increase the personal allowance to $21,000 and you're still earning $18,000, what good is that additional personal allowance?
Doesn't help you, and
but you still have to pay the VAT.
Yes. So what I believe has
Thanks
happened
a lot,
is that poor people earn a lot less than $1,500 a month, which would equate to the $18,000 a year. Poor people earn a lot less than that. So poor people are not up in that bracket at all. But so they never paid income tax. There is no doubt the VAT has fallen on these people harder than it has fallen on the upper levels.
We have a call. Good evening.
Good night, Mr. Stewart.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Hi. Mr. Stewart, you said basically that a lot of the countries that went into VAT are suffering, and then the world VAT has basically crippled most of the countries. But why is this, with these examples, why do you think that governments are still moving towards VAT? If what you're saying is correct, that VAT has crippled countries and VAT is a major problem, and then you used an example earlier about Grenada taxing property tax. But you must know that Grenada have lower salaries than us. Grenada, they don't pay gratuity on contracts. The government did that a couple of years ago. Grenada now have a homegrown program of the IMF. So to just jump out and say that Grenada is doing better than us, that's the only one aspect.
In property tax collections. So but let's just qualify what I said.
IMF homegrown program, they basically getting money from the IMF. The government, the last government, the NDC administration, removed the 12.5% gratuity. Imagine Grenada was only 12.5% on gratuity on salaries, and they removed that. And Grenada's salaries are much lower than us. So tell me why you think that with the problems that VAT has created around the world, countries are still moving to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I will tell you that, VAT obviously, different forms of taxation become popular at different points in the world's history. And VAT has become very popular mainly because VAT is an all-embracing tax. Everybody pays the VAT, which is a very good feature of the VAT in that it's all-encompassing. But apart from that, there is no real advantage in the VAT. As I am telling you, all the countries in the world are now discovering that VAT is falling on the poorer people beyond what they can bear. VAT is, have you ever heard of a country reduce VAT?
You have a call. Good evening.
Increasing it.
Hi.
Good evening to you, caller. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to you, Mr. Stewart.
Good evening.
Mr. Stewart, my question is, I would like to know if you don't pay taxes in the U.S. I'll listen off.
If I don't think what?
If you don't pay taxes in the U.S.
If who doesn't pay taxes?
If you don't
me,
pay,
well, I'll tell you the truth. That's my personal business, so I wouldn't answer that.
Hot button issue. Hello, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
Right. Jeff, a friend of mine has been suggesting that government take off VAT and charge everybody 3 cents on a dollar. So that means leave all the taxes at customs as is and charge everybody 3 cents on a dollar. They will collect a bundle of money and still have their taxes. What do you think?
Hard to tell without some form of analysis. You have to dig into the figures to see what the effect something like that would have. What it would really do is dropping the rate of VAT from 15% to 3%. That would definitely make things a lot easier on everybody. But as to whether that is feasible, some sort of investigation would have to be done.
Good evening, Hot Button issue. You on the air?
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening to caller.
Just say that I am really not against that. I feel what is the issue is the rate at which it's taxed. And I believe you need to tax based on your economic situation. If you recognize that the economy is not doing good and you need to spur investment and you need to spur growth in your economy, you lower the VAT, you lower the taxes. Not even VAT only, you lower taxes that your economy can grow, that your economy, people can start spending in your economy. Now, the minute you recognize that your economy is moving at a fast rate that you probably cannot control it, or you find that there is a lot of inflation happening in your country, then you may want to add more taxes or may want to increase taxes like that. So I am not against that, and I don't think people should be against that. I just believe that we should be civilized enough as a country that we put in an economic plan, and that when things are not too good in your country, that certain measures are taken in place. VAT can go down. At least right now, I'm seeing maybe VAT should be 10% or maybe even lower, so that when people recognize that they spend $100, they can recognize, okay, $10 is put a place for the government, or $10 is put against for VAT.
I take your point.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Yeah. I take the point, but I don't want to say where the VAT rate should be, because to do that, you've got to study these things and do a lot of analysis before you arrive at a rate. But I'll tell you this, Tim. At the rate this country is going, with businesses closing, and as I'm telling you, the private sector shrinking and shrinking, government is going to collect less corporation tax as we shrink. They're going to collect less PAYE as the people get laid off. So for all the money they think they're getting from VAT, they're losing a lot of their traditional revenue. They're going to, if they haven't started already.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue, you on the air?
Good evening. Is there a difference between the sales tax and VAT?
Thank you so much. Is there a difference between a sales tax and VAT?
Yes, a big difference. Now, miss, that could be a little complicated, but I'm going to try to explain it as simply as I can. You see, a sales tax like what you have in a country like America is when you go into a store and you buy an item. The item costs $10. They'll add 5%, let me say, sales tax onto it. So you pay another 5% for the item and you go. That's not how VAT works. VAT is a tax that ends up being paid by the final consumer, but it is collected from the point the item enters the country and is manufactured into a good or whatever. The VAT is, you get your taxes at a much earlier rate, at a much earlier date, because from the time the goods land, you pay a VAT on it. Then when they sell it to the manufacturer, he pay and get back the VAT. That's why there's an input-output. So the big difference is VAT is a tax that's put on at every stage of the production chain until it reaches the final product where you walk into the store, Tim, and you pay the whole amount, 15% of VAT, and everybody along the line get back the money they put in VAT. So that's the big thing. They operate totally different.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue.
Good evening, team. How are you?
Hi, good evening to you, caller. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Stewart.
Hi, good evening.
Very, very, very good, informative program.
Okay, thank you very much.
You have to speak up, sir.
Yeah, I said it's a very, very informative and enlightening program.
Are you calling from overseas?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. From where?
From the United States.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, Miss. Very informative, and I quite agree with Mr. Stewart that the implementation of VAT in St. Lucia has certainly destroyed the St. Lucian economy. Bearing in mind that presently, as we speak, St. Lucia has an unemployment rate of 24%, where businesses are closing shop, because there's not enough money circulating into the economy. But I need to remind St. Lucians that it was the Prime Minister, Kenny Anthony, who said, whilst he was in opposition, that VAT was an oppressive tax on the backs of St. Lucians. Here it is that he had no choice but to implement VAT. Now, I agree with Mr. Stewart. If we were able to make maximize our collection of taxes, there will be no need for VAT. And I'm saying that in the advent of VAT, this administration has yet to come to the people and say, okay, on an annual basis or periodically every 3 months or so, okay, this is what we collect from VAT, this is how we're going to channel the monies into whatever programs or whatever. Tell the people something that would make them feel that, okay, they are part of something. Yeah. But here it is, monies have been collected, nobody's coming to the public and saying, okay, we collected such and such amount of money for this period, and this is what we're going to do. And suffice to say, I think this Labour Party government is incompetent. They cannot manage the country, and it's sad, and I agree with everything that Mr. Stewart has been saying tonight.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
For your support.
Good evening, Hot Button Issue. You the final call? Okay, we will await a final call on the program. Once again, this is Hot Button Issue. Good evening, you the final call. Hello.
A very good evening. A very good evening to you too.
Good evening to you, caller.
Thank you very much. Good night.
I am. It is a very nice show. Very good, very informative. And Mr. Stewart, let me tell you, there is VAT right now on provision.
Ground provisions?
Ground provision. You know, and you go to marketing board and there are crates of things that are even getting rotten.
And why is this? Because people
Yeah,
can't afford.
because you can't
afford.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
you have to buy less.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am.
You know,
Final comments from you, Jeff?
Final comments. Tim, I'm not expecting everybody to agree with me, but I think if people are fair, they will look and see what's happening to our country, and they will end up on my side of the fence. We cannot continue to let things go like that, Tim. We cannot, because we are heading down a precipice, and we're going to follow Barbados. Barbados was the pride of the Caribbean. Look at where they are today. I personally feel that is what has done them that. They shrunk and overtaxed the private sector, and they're paying for it today. I am pretty certain, I'm open to ideas. You can convince me if you come with the ideas and show me another way to do it, but I'm pretty certain the way to do it is manage the taxes properly, collect them efficiently, and there'll be we will drop a whole ton of them, and we will get more money than we've ever imagined. There would be no need to think of introducing VAT or anything like that.
Hope we can continue the conversation right here on Choice Television and Hot Button Issue. Thank you so much for being my guest this evening, Mr. Jeff Stewart, who is a tax consultant as always. Thank you so much for watching the broadcast and contributing via your calls. We'll have a special Hot Button Issue tomorrow evening, so hope you'll join us from 9 o'clock right here on Choice Television. It's now time for the clip that peaked.
After all, a certain opposition party has already started to interview candidates for constituencies. We heard of a recent set of interviews in Castries South. Mr. Speaker, what kind of behavior is that? I've never seen a member of the public stranger in the house like this. Come on, what is this? What is this? Yes, but we shall hear about that a little more, Mr. Speaker, in due course.
Once again, this is Wednesday. We discuss a hot button issue right here on Choice Television. Once again, join me tomorrow evening for a special program at 9 o'clock right here on Choice. Good night.